The following is a production of 90 FM's Public Affairs. The views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of the University of Stevens Point, the University of Wisconsin Systems, its Board of Regents, or 90 FM. It's 6 o'clock. It's Wednesday. It's time for Sports Beat right here on 90 FM. Oh yeah, baby. It's Wednesday. It's 6 o'clock on the dot. It's May 15th, 2019. It's the last sports beat of the semester. It's my last sports beat as sports director of 90 FM as I begin the transition to station manager. My name is Alex Strofe. And it's also a sad day because the two guys joining me, it is their last sports beat ever as students at UW Stevens Point. We begin to my left, hailing from Washington, D.C., the most handsome man I know.
Thank you. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
you.
You're welcome. Mr. Malik Jackson.
And here we are, Alex. A day that was soon to come, sadly, but
Here we are.
it's here, and I'm just blessed to be here with you guys again for another day, another Wednesday on Sports Beat. So let's get to it. I'm ready, man. It's so much sports to talk about.
Yeah, we got a lot to dive into, so we'll get there. We'll save the sappy stuff for later. How's that sound?
For sure.
The other guy being booed for the final time, which makes me so sad. This kills me a little bit inside. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jacob Senholz from Anago, Wisconsin.
As you mentioned, though, being booed for the final time as a student, I may be back in the future. You might not be able to get rid of me. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. That's a good point. I'll boo you again, though, if I have any say in it.
That's perfectly fine.
I will always boo you. I will always boo you. So, let's just dive right into sports, huh? So, obviously the Bucks play in an hour and a half. We'll get there. But what I want to start with tonight, guys, is let's start with paying homage to the legendary country singer Alan Jackson, who wrote a song once called "Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning?" The world stopped turning for one Zion Williamson last night
So, man.
as the shocker hit him that he will likely, and we'll get into this, be a New Orleans Pelican as they won the NBA draft lottery with only a 6% chance to pick number one. The Memphis Grizzlies got pick number 2. Number 3 went to who we suspected maybe would be the top team to get Zion at number 1, the New York Knicks, the mecca of basketball in NYC. They play in MSG, the Madison Square Garden. And a number 4 pick goes to the Los Angeles Lakers, who weren't expected to be that high, but nonetheless, they got pick 4. So that said, New Orleans. Nobody saw this one coming. You know, all the suspected teams were Chicago, Cleveland, New York, Phoenix. Those are the 4 teams everybody kept throwing around for Zion, and they all be good fits, right? Cleveland needed another LeBron. They needed another big star.
Yeah.
Chicago, big market, but hasn't always been the best at recruiting. They have good shooters. They have Zach LaVine. They have Lauri Markkanen. They have good guys that could surround Zion as the top guy. Phoenix, obviously a great pick, right? Or a great fit, rather. They had the number 1 pick last year, DeAndre Ayton, an Arizona guy. Went to the University of Arizona. And Devin Booker, of course, who's probably one of the most, if not the most, underrated player in the entire NBA. The guy can go out for 50 any night of the week. And so to pair them up with Zion Williamson would have turned everything upside down. And of course, finally, the New York Knicks, who fell all the way to pick number 3. They are the mecca of basketball, as I mentioned. They play in Madison Square Garden. And you know what? To put Zion in orange and blue, the jerseys would have flown off the shelves. The tickets would have tripled in price.
Man.
And now here we are. They're looking at a different Duke guy, but we'll get there as well. So Zion likely headed down south to eat some jambalaya. New Orleans, the Big Easy. Mardi Gras in May is what people are saying. And that's a whole nother situation. But I want to talk first, before we get into Anthony Davis, before we get into the Knicks, before we get into the top 4 picks, before we get into all that, I want to talk about Zion Williamson. Okay? Or I want to talk about New Orleans as well. I want to talk about these together. Zion Williamson is 19 years old. Everything suspected heading into last night was that he'll be going to a big market. New York, Chicago, Phoenix, Cleveland. Top markets, top 10, top 15 markets in the NBA. And now he's going to market number 29. Now, I'm not dissing New Orleans, because why would you? I hear they have the best food.
They definitely
I've never
do.
been there. I've heard they have the best food. They've got a very well-run football team in a relatively small market in the New Orleans Saints.
Aints.
See, here you go with your bias again, Malik.
Oh.
In the Saints. They love the Saints. They love LSU down there. They're waiting to grasp and love New Orleans. Now, if Zion ends up there, that's a story. However, Anthony Davis is the current big star in New Orleans. 4 years into his deal, what does he want? Out. He wants to say adios. 6 years, rather, into his deal. He wants out of there. He requested a trade last year. One of the biggest stars in the NBA wants out of there as a former first overall pick as well. Tore up the locker room, tore up another locker room in LA, the Lakers, and it's going to create a huge spark in the NBA. Now, wait a minute. New Orleans with the top pick has the chance to draft a generational talent we haven't seen in 16 years. Last guy with this much hype around him coming into the draft was one, LeBron James, who's now going to be starring in Space Jam. Multiple MVPs, multiple championships, and potentially the greatest player of all time, at least the greatest of our generation.
Yep.
So what does that do for Anthony Davis? What does that do for New Orleans? Do they trade Zion? Do they trade that pick? Do they trade AD? Do they try to do a Kawhi or Paul George scenario where they say, look, you got a year left on your deal. You're going to sit it out. You're going to play with us. And you pair up two huge guys in Zion Williamson and Anthony Davis, and then you have Alfred Payton and Drew Holiday. Not really sounding like maybe a playoff team, right? It's a very precarious situation that you don't see often in sports, right? Because the lottery is no longer rewarding tanking, right? They changed up the scenarios this year. The team with the 7th or 8th, whatever it was, best odds to get the number 1 pick got them. You only had one of the 4 worst records in the top 4 picks. Tanking is no longer acceptable, and they're making that example by rewarding New Orleans, whose locker room went through a paper shredder 6 months ago.
Yep.
Not even 6 months ago, 3 months ago. And now they have the number 1 pick and maybe the biggest star we've seen in 16 years. So that's basically what I've taken away in the last, 24 hours. What's the initial takeaway from this? What the hell happens to New Orleans?
I mean, New Orleans they went through it with him just asking for the trade. You get to get Zion Williamson. Excuse me. I don't think that they even thought about that, having a 6% chance in the lottery when you have 3 teams having 14% chances, and then you go out and you get the number 1 overall pick. Out of all of the drama that you just alluded to, Alex, with the Lakers and the Pelicans last season, and then you get Zion. He is the most talented player that I've ever seen body-wise coming into the NBA. His build, he's 280 pounds already without any type of NBA training, any type of preparation with the development teams and the development leagues and stuff of that nature with the NBA. It is going to be interesting, but when you talk about what the New Orleans Pelicans should do, I don't know. I mean, do you trade AD? Do you try to get things for him? He does have one. I mean, what do you do? I just don't know what to do. I mean, you have Zion. I don't know what the upside is for Anthony Davis. I mean, he's going into his prime years now, so you still have him on the flank. You still have, as you attested to, Holiday And, I mean, you have a little bit of pieces, but the New Orleans Pelicans have a lot to go, especially being in the Western Conference. They have a lot of things to improve on, but it starts with getting a number 1 overall pick
And
and
which they
then
have.
drafting Zion. So I think I'm happy for the New Orleans Pelicans just because of where they were last year and through all of the turmoil that they were going through the entire season, limiting the minutes of Anthony Davis, and then him wearing the "That's All Folks" T-shirt to the last home game. So it was just so much friction between the two, and now they just lucked up and got Zion Williamson. So,
Well,
it's craziness.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm with you. Go ahead, Jake.
I think it would mean more to New Orleans if you had Anthony Davis locked up for longer. It doesn't matter. He's still gone. Whether, like you said, Malik, they got a long way to go. They're not just Zion Williamson, like plug him in and they're going to win a championship, especially in the Western Conference. Look what you were able to do with AD. You were pretty much a 500 team. You made the playoffs a couple times as like the 7 or 8 seed, but you never made any noise.
Nope.
You don't have Anthony Davis locked up for any more than a year. So even if you force him to play for you, force him to play with Zion, see how things go for a year, you might draw in more eyes. Well, you're going to draw more eyes. You're going to get more TV time, everything like that for this initial season and probably a few seasons following if and when you draft Zion. But I just don't see anything changing really for the organization if you just swap out Anthony Davis for Zion. Like if Anthony Davis couldn't take this team anywhere, put them over the bubble, why do you think Zion's automatically going to be able to? Zion's still a kid, and as much talent as he has and as great as he's going to be, he's still going to need to develop, and he's not going to be as dominant in his first couple of years in the NBA as he was in college. It just doesn't happen that way. And when you take away a player like Anthony Davis, again, if they had him wrapped up for 2 or 3, especially 4 more years, if they would have signed him to a new contract, this would be a completely different story. Then you're talking about potential NBA champions in the near future. But I just don't see this meaning very much for the Pelicans when you're talking about success. I can see Zion Williamson taking the same exact road as Anthony Davis and having a good few years there himself and being able to develop himself as a player there. Because he'll probably be the number 1 guy, obviously, especially after AD leaves. But I don't think it's going to turn into anything, especially in the Western Conference. So, like I said, I think it's going to result in more eyes, maybe some jersey sales, more attention for you for a couple years. But ultimately, I don't think you're going to retain Zion either, unless you can change something as an organization. You can prove that you can bring other people in that will actually help contribute and make you more than a 500 team. Drew Holiday is a good player, but he's not a superstar.
Right.
He's not the point guard that is going to help lead you to a championship.
So, Jake, let me ask this while you're talking on it. If you have Zion, you refuse to trade AD, does that attract any free agent attention? I mean, it has to at least a little bit, right?
Well, no, again, because I think you don't know what Anthony Davis. What if he pulls? I'm not saying that he will, but what if he pulls a Kawhi Leonard and he just doesn't want to play this season, or like he's only under contract for 1 more year? So again,
he pulls a Le'Veon Bell in the NBA.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or I mean, Kawhi Leonard did that too. He got cleared. He could have played for most of the season. He just decided to sit out. Again, if you had AD for a longer term and you knew you were going to be able to make him play and force everything to try and work, then maybe, yeah, a free agent might want to come in. But again, you have a 1-year window, and that's assuming Anthony Davis is going to give you 100%. He's going to be there healthy the whole season, and he's going to want to contributing to this team. Even if you have that, you have a 1-year window. And guess who's still in the West? I mean, look at the playoffs now. The Portland Trailblazers are getting better. Obviously, you've got the Rockets who are going to come back hungry
Houston,
next year.
Oklahoma City, Denver,
yeah.
Utah,
You just go
Golden
down,
State,
go down the list.
the Lakers.
Go down the list. So
Yep.
you're going to tell me that what free agent, even if you do have Anthony Davis playing at his top notch and you have Zion come in and say Zion doesn't miss a step. He comes in, he's putting up 22 points, 8 rebounds a night. He's a monster just like he's billed to be. Who are you going to get in there that's going to beat all those teams that you just named in a 1-year window in the West? It's not going to happen. So again, I don't think Anthony Davis has anything to do with the future situation here in New Orleans, besides for whatever they get back in the trade. I said this on Twitter last night too. I think the future success of New Orleans is going to rely a ton upon the effectiveness of the players that they get in return for Anthony Davis. Whoever they get in return for Anthony Davis has to be better than the players were that were around Anthony Davis in order for Zion Williamson to lead this team anywhere.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But Alex, you hit it right on the nose. Just saying with having Zion Williamson, it just changes the whole trajectory of anything. Because when you come into the draft and you saw when LeBron James came, he made an immediate impact. I mean, his first game against the Sacramento Kings, he came out and had a spectacular game. And I can see the same for Zion. Of course, he still has a lot of work to do, and there isn't a lot of pieces set in place in New Orleans, but that's Zion. And I think that a lot of stars see that, and a lot of people see it. Even LeBron James, he gives him credit. He gives him so much credit, and that's LeBron. You know, he knows what those shoes feel like because he was in the same shoes, being the chosen one and having all of this type of media publicity in high school, coming into college, and now entering the draft. He's knowing that he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. You know, so it really. It's a lot of pressure on Zion, but I've never seen a specimen like this guy, and it's
crazy.
It's freakish, you know.
It's freakish. I agree. You go ahead.
The Pelicans, if this is right, the Pelicans have not had a first-round draft pick since 2016.
So 2 years.
So
the last 2 years. That makes
three
sense.
full drafts: 2017, 2018.
And this year's
excuse me.
2018, 2 years.
Yeah. So 2 years. Not really sure what happened to them, but anyway, I was just kind of looking at their last draft position. 2016, they drafted number 6. 2013, they drafted number 6.
In 2012, it was number 1.
Mm-hmm. So
before we get to our first break, I want to tell you what I would do if I was David Griffin and company in New Orleans. They probably know Zion might not want to be there, but they let it happen, right? They draft him number 1. But you get rid of Anthony Davis like that. Boom, gone. See ya. But you're going to get a lot for it, right? The Lakers have pick number 4. They'll give up more than pick number 4 for Anthony freaking Davis. Hello, Kyle Kuzma. Hi, Lonzo Ball. Welcome to New Orleans. Meet your new friend, Zion Williamson. Or you can call a team and get the number 4 pick, R.J. Barrett and Zion Davidson, or Zion Williamson, excuse me. Or if RJ goes 3, that's probably not going to happen. But, maybe Jarrett Culver from Texas Tech or DeAndre Hunter. Solid college guys, right? If you get number 4 pick, Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo Ball, by Anthony Davis, you might even get more. You might get a guy like Josh Hart as well, national champion.
They threw everybody.
Now,
you could trade.
I'm not done yet.
You could trade that 4th pick as well if you already picked Zion Williamson.
I'm saying you could pick 1 and 4.
That's what I'm saying. You could trade 4. You already had 1.
Yep. No, get them both. Stack up this team. Get this. This is a good draft. This is a deep draft. No, not super deep. Outside of maybe the top 3, 4. But you know what else you could do? The Celtics own picks 22 and 14 in the first round. They're like the number 1 team that's looking to land Anthony Davis this summer. So they say, just like they did with the Brooklyn Nets a few years back, which they won that trade, they're not going to win this one. New Orleans keeps that number 1 pick. Zion Williamson puts on the gold and navy blue. Then the Boston Celtics call up David Griffin. Danny Ainge gets on the phone. Says, hey, David, how about picks 14, 22? I throw in, Marcus Smart and Jason Tatum. You give us Anthony Davis. So then you have Jason Tatum. You have Marcus Smart, maybe. 2 more first-round picks on top of the one you already have at number 1. And you have Zion freaking Williamson. And you still have Drew Holiday. You can make a solid squad, but you gotta. I mean, Anthony Davis is another generational talent. I think.
It's
I
tough.
think. So I think it's almost the right move to trade him, get what you can for him, because that might be what the San Antonio Spurs did with Kawhi. Got rid of him, got a guy like DeMar DeRozan that's not going to go anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And he looked great in the playoffs under Pop. Kawhi's obviously doing more, but he might be a rental player for 1 year.
Yeah, and
I don't know. I think if you are New Orleans, you deal him and get as much as you can out of it. Because if you look at teams like Los Angeles and Boston, I said those are the first 2 that come to mind. I'm sure there's more. Atlanta has picks 8 and 10. You get maybe John Collins for AD and pair him up with Trae Young. I think he gets moved before draft night. I do. I think he gets moved before June 20th. I don't see why that you wouldn't. He doesn't want to be there. That's all, folks, is what he said, right? There's no way I see Anthony Davis remaining on the New Orleans Pelicans to team up with Zion. I don't see it happening. I'd love to see it happen. I think that'd be awesome. I mean, that's going to be that would be something out there that we've never seen, right?
Yeah.
Two guys like that, 2 first overall picks that are that powerful and dominant.
He had DeMarcus Cousins on his team. I thought that they were going to be pretty decent.
Between the duo, they couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, that they couldn't stay healthy, and it just sucks for these smart market teams. And that's why I'm really happy for the Milwaukee Bucks, because you land a Giannis, and then you get Mike Budenholzer, and then you
skyrocket.
Yeah, you just go around this one superstar on your team, and you never know where it might go. And Giannis is a generational player as well. So, I mean, you take a shot and you take 1 year or 2 year deals on some players who are they're role players, but they're decent and they can get you over to the promised land. But in the Western Conference, you need a lot. You need a lot, and Zion Williamson could bring that, but that's not going to come for the upcoming years.
And you can't really compare. Like, it's hard to say, oh yeah, look at what Milwaukee was able to do with Giannis. Like, why can't that happen in New Orleans with Zion? Well, Giannis has been a Buck for 6 years already. He's on his third coach.
Yep.
He's in his second building. Like, they've gone through a lot as an organization. They've gone through a lot of change. They've gone through a lot of failure. So, again, you can bring in a guy like Zion Williamson and hope that that's what happens eventually. But we saw that it didn't happen in the first 3 years of Anthony Davis. What makes you think it's going to happen in the first 3 years of Zion? And then what if you can't re-sign him? Because, again, Giannis, we're very lucky as a state and as an organization. Giannis seems to truly love Milwaukee. He likes the culture. He likes the state. He likes being here.
Mm-hmm.
Zion might not have that feeling in New Orleans. He might want out, and so you can't.
He's a very likable guy. I don't see that happening.
His facial expression
What
was
do you
a
mean
little
you
bit
don't see
like,
that happening? How can you say that? How can you say he's not by the end of his fourth?
Because a team that takes
year,
a team that takes a chance on him, I feel like he'd be
chance.
very accepting.
He's the guaranteed number 1 overall pick. Nobody's taking a chance. That's stupid. No,
that's not stupid.
No, that is a stupid thing to say.
He
Nobody's
could be
taking
great
a chance on Zion
by
Williamson.
taking a chance, taking him number 1. Sure, I know he's the foregone conclusion
you don't
6 months
owe
ago.
a team anything just because they took you number 1 overall, especially
But
if you
that's
played
not the
for
type
them
of
for
guy
4
he
years.
is.
If you play for them for 4 years and nothing happens, you're going to want out. That's what happened with AD.
Absolutely.
Even just because he's a likable guy or what, who cares? He might not be happy in New Orleans. That's perfectly possible. He might not have been happy anywhere that he went. It doesn't matter. And I sure don't think that he feels like he's going to owe them anything and re-sign just because they took him number 1.
I'm not saying this is an outrageous take. I'm just saying, just because he had the expectations of going somewhere like New York for the last 3 months, it doesn't mean anything.
But he could want out of New York all the same as he could want out of New Orleans. Like, again,
he's going to be full of pressure no matter if he plays in New Orleans, Louisiana, or if he plays in freaking Sheboygan, Wisconsin.
And
it doesn't matter.
And it's going to be up to the organization to make him happy and make him want to re-sign just like every other superstar.
Right. And I think... you're not wrong, but I think he'll be fine. I think that's way too early to talk about this. We can talk about this in 2023 if you really want to bring it back up. But I think it's a foregone conclusion that he's going number 1, like you said, and I think he will be happy with whatever. Obviously, when his contract's over, he'll resign. That's not what Anthony Davis did. He signed an extension. So Zion will get a 4-year deal. He'll lock that up. And after 4, if he's unhappy, then he can leave, like LeBron did, right? You might get pissed at the guy, but it happens. It's basketball. The NBA is a much different game than, the NFL, right? Or the MLB. If you leave, okay, it's the NBA. It's part of the game. He's the type of guy where if he lives up to at least half of the expectations put on him, players are going to follow him. So if he leaves New Orleans and signs with, say, a New York or a Brooklyn or a Milwaukee or a Detroit, I don't care what the city is, people are going to follow him, just like people follow LeBron. Kevin Durant followed people.
Do people follow LeBron?
Sure.
No.
Sure.
How come LeBron?
Talk
How
to
come
me
the
in 3
story
months.
is always
Talk to me in
LeBron
3
can't
months.
get anybody
Talk
to
to
play
me in
with
3
him?
months.
It happened. It worked one time.
Talk to
it
me in
worked
3
one
months.
time with 2 players, Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. It worked one time. He carried the whole team. Kyrie was already there when he went to
and they
Cleveland.
traded for Kevin Love. You're absolutely correct.
Yes. But nobody's following LeBron. He can't get anybody to come play with him.
Rajon Rondo, Michael,
Oh my
these aren't
God,
great players.
Rajon Rondo, dude, he's like 36 years
He
old.
led
and he's
the
been
league
on
in assists last
He's been
year.
on 9 or 10 different teams. You can't say he's following LeBron. He didn't leave anywhere to go play with
9 or 10.
LeBron.
He left New Orleans, ironically.
That's funny. My question is, LeBron, the first year, his rookie season, they made it to the playoffs,
No,
correct? They didn't.
I don't think so.
They had a losing season that year. So the league was different back then. Just shooting-wise, the three ball wasn't as adherent as it is now. And Zion isn't a great shooter from what I have seen. He's a spot up. He can hit the J.
Yeah.
So my question is, with him coming into the league and being in the Western Conference, going against these teams 2 times a year, what does he have to do to have the same success as LeBron with all of this pressure coming into the league? Like what attributes does he have to improve on this stage?
I don't know if that's necessarily a fair question. I think he needs to go in and adjust right away. I mean, he's obviously the favorite for Rookie of the Year because he's going to change whatever franchise he goes to. I don't think it's fair to evaluate the attributes. I mean, the guy is absolutely insane.
True.
So it's a good question. It's just I don't think the comparisons to LeBron are fair. I think this guy's got a cool first name too. It's Zion. We've never heard of a guy named freaking Zion. So I think Zion's the first Zion. LeBron's the only LeBron. MJ is the only MJ. Kobe's the only Kobe.
Yeah.
Dirk's the only Dirk. Giannis is the only Giannis. Kawhi is the only Kawhi.
James
List goes on.
Harden.
If you have a cool first name, you're bound to be something special, right? I mean, that's just kind of how it goes in the NBA. We got to take a break. We can come back to this if you'd like.
Zion currently weighs over 30 pounds more than LeBron.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
He'll lose weight.
What every
quickly
scout
in
is
the NBA,
saying,
but-
what every scout is saying is take 15 pounds off of him the day he walks in the door. So,
Right, and especially by the end of the season, he'll be much leaner. I'm guessing
Oh,
he'll
for
be
sure.
260 or less.
it's Senholes, Jackson, Strove, Sports Beat 90 FM. We'll be back. Bucks tip off in an hour.
And you say Shot City, Shot City, Shot City.
I'm coming home again. Maybe we could start again.
Maybe we can start again. That's Kanye West, Chris Martin, Homecoming off the album Graduation. Thanks so much to Austin Virzel for that request. We had to fit it in. I love that song as well, so I had to play it. So shout out to Austin for that request. Say shout out to Austin.
Shout out to Austin.
Jake?
Austin, shout out to you.
Austin. Yeah,
Oh,
Austin.
what was the name of this album that was on?
Graduation.
And look at
Really?
that.
Fitting. Fitting.
You like that?
How many days? 2007.
That's what.
Oh, right, yeah,
graduation.
And
it was
producer shot on
and it
the.
was-
You know,
and it was
you know.
Kanye's. It was Kanye's third album.
Third album, yeah. Late
Third album.
Hold on, late registration.
College dropout.
College dropout,
Late
late
registration.
Hey,
graduation.
and now graduation.
And graduation.
You guys aren't college dropouts. You're graduating.
Once upon a
Graduating,
time.
man.
Once upon a time.
But now I'm
Really?
a graduate.
I didn't know that
Right.
about you.
Yep. First semester of my sophomore year, spring break came around, and I said, "See you."
Really?
Yep. Only through the end of summer though, and then I went right back.
Oh, attaboy. So you really weren't
That's
that
part of
much
the
a
reason.
dropout. You just
No,
took, you just took a
I just
little bit
basically wasted a whole semester.
Well, you got rappers out here dropping out of college and making millions of dollars. So
off. Are you guys rappers?
I don't know.
I'm glad he didn't drop out then. Anyway, let's move
Yeah.
on. Let's move on. You know what? During the break, I was doing a little research, and I didn't realize this until right now. The Philadelphia 76ers have 5 picks in the upcoming draft. That's almost
What numbers?
4 of them are in the second round, but
How many picks did they get from Markelle Fultz?
they must have gotten 1 or 2. I'd imagine.
They sent them to the Magic, right?
Yeah. I just clicked out of it. Hold on. Let me track this down. But anyway, Bucks Raptors tips off in less than an hour. Game 1, Eastern Conference Finals. The Bucks made it to the conference finals.
Congrats.
The Rockets didn't. Sorry, James Harden. Sorry, Malik
just-
Jackson.
They didn't even force a game 7, man. That's
They
pathetic.
didn't. They didn't. force
Without
the game
Kevin
set.
Durant, not the
Without
We're not
Kevin
diving in
Durant.
that.
Yeah,
We're not diving in that. We got to dive into the Bucks because it's local and it's freaking exciting. The Milwaukee Bucks host the Toronto Raptors at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So, quick math, 58 minutes from now. Guys, let's dive into the series a little bit. Kawhi Leonard for Toronto has been the best player in this whole NBA playoffs. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He has
Yeah.
been the best player. He hit maybe the best shot He's hit the only Game 7 buzzer beater in NBA history.
Yeah.
What was that, Sunday night? And now 3 days later, they're traveling down south to Milwaukee. Not really that far south comparison to other places, but nonetheless, they're traveling down south. So Milwaukee hosts Toronto. Game 1. Who wins? Why? X factors. What's going to happen? Be psychics.
Well, honestly, I think it's pretty easy for me. Kawhi Leonard is great. He's been playing fantastically. This Toronto team has not been a disappointment like they have been in previous years in the playoffs. I think they've done enough to retain Kawhi Leonard, whether he actually stays or not. We will continue to debate and watch, see what happens. However, when it comes to this series, like I said, it's pretty easy for me. I think that Milwaukee's going to win this one going away. I think it's only going to take 5, maybe 6 games. But I'm going to say I think they can do it again in 5. I think Boston was their toughest matchup. I think Boston is a better team all around than Toronto. I think they're deeper, they're more talented, and I think Toronto, you shut down Kawhi Leonard, and even if you don't shut down Kawhi Leonard, as long as you somewhat contain him, you will be able to beat this team just as handily as you beat the Celtics. I mean, why can't you? The Celtics are a better team, in my estimation, than Toronto is all around. Like I said, as a team, they're better. Kawhi's probably the best player overall.
I think there's a different matchup, though, Jake.
It is a different matchup.
It's a very different
but
matchup,
again,
and I think it's gonna make for more than a 5-game series. It's going to.
I really don't think so. I think Kawhi himself is going to win one game.
You think
for,
it's a 5-game
for
series?
Toronto, and then I think I don't see.
I mean, Milwaukee
losing
they've
2
played 9 games and won 8 of them.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
There's
I don't
no
see them
doubt. There's no
losing
doubt
2
they've been one of the best teams, if not the most impressive team so far in this playoffs. But I don't know. Producer Shot has a thought. Give him the mic. Producer Shot, what's on your mind?
Just real quick, you know what I'm saying? So who I think is going to win this series? To be honest, first of all, it's going to go to 7 games.
Okay.
In my eyes.
I think 6 or 7 now.
A couple of reasons I'm going to keep it short. One, Giannis.
Yeah.
Theoretically and realistically, nobody can really stop him, especially when he drives. League today, you get a quick foul, you get touched, he's going straight to the line. He doesn't hit that many threes, but when he needs to, he will hit them. Then he's going to have to pass the ball. Eric Bledsoe has gotten better. Chris Middleton is an all-star.
Malcolm Brogdon.
Brogdon has come back. And then you have Brook Lopez willingly have the green light, shoot the 3.
Yep.
But then you have the Raptors. Kawhi hit that game-winning shot. That was amazing. But he's been an amazing player since he entered the league for the San Antonio Spurs. I'm still mad that he left. But that's beside the point. And you have Kyle Lowry, who's actually shown up in the playoffs and not choked.
It's been off and on.
It's been off and on, but more on than off in the
sure.
past 2 years that they've been. Harkless. Where did this talent come from? He just got better out of nowhere. Marc Gasol, old in age, I feel that, still has the height, still has the agility to give you good rebounds.
He's been solid.
Exactly. Some of his
Danny Green's disappeared, though. That's a guy that needs to show up.
That's the only thing.
You didn't mention Pascal Siakam. He's been on and off.
Again.
They need to fire on all cylinders to make. I mean, I think they will. I think I don't see them failing like they did against Philadelphia, bringing that shouldn't have gone 7.
Especially when Philadelphia let Ibaka hit, 3 threes?
Yeah. Toronto was afraid to shoot at the end of Game 7.
I think Milwaukee has multiple facets in which they are going to be able to beat Toronto.
I agree with that.
They showed that they can
Lockdown
win.
defense.
Exactly.
They showed that they can win even with Giannis on the bench, or they can take over a game even with their best 2 players in Giannis and Middleton on the bench. Right now, the Raptors only have 3 people averaging double digits in the playoffs. 3 people, and one of them is Kyle Lowry, who should be your second best scorer, right? He's only averaging 12 points a game. And his other numbers are not that fantastic either. Right now, Siakam, he looks good. He's averaging 20 points, 7 rebounds, a couple assists per game. But again, you take away Kawhi Leonard and you make the rest of this team beat you, I don't see it happening. I think Milwaukee is more talented. They have a lot more ways of attacking this team, and even though it's a different matchup than Boston, I do think Boston was the tougher matchup for Milwaukee, and Milwaukee dismantled them.
I gonna interject here. I definitely think that the Toronto Raptors are a very long and defensive team. Serge Ibaka is really, really pivotal for them. I think that he'll be the X factor in regards to stopping Giannis driving in the paint, because you saw with Al Horford in the Boston series, having him in those games that they did actually contain Giannis, which wasn't really many. They had to stop him from getting to the lane, and as you said, Rashad, with the foul calls, stopping him from the momentum of the game. So the thing about the Milwaukee Bucks is what keeps them going is their pace. pace. And also the last 5 minutes of the third quarter. I spoke about this last time on the show. Every single time that the Milwaukee Bucks go into the last 5 minutes of the third period, and they take over,
off.
they take off. That is when you will see whether or not this Milwaukee Bucks team can beat this Toronto Raptors team. I do think that this series will be a little bit tighter just because of the defense of the Toronto Raptors. It's different from the Boston Celtics, and it's also way different, of course, than the Detroit Pistons. This is the toughest matchup for them. Going up against Kawhi Leonard hitting that shot, it's going to be tough to go into the Effectsum Forum and win, though.
I think so. Jake and Malik, I agree with you both, but not equally. Jake, you made a good point. You know, Toronto doesn't have great depth. They need to bring depth. They need to show up. Their bench needs to show up. You know, guys like Fred VanVleet has not provided.
4.2 points a game.
Right. Producer Shad mentioned Marc Gasol. You know, Serge Ibaka's been solid. Danny Green needs to come in and do well, which he's disappeared, especially in the Philly series.
Yep.
If they can show up, you know, Pascal Siakam will guard Giannis, and Chris Middleton will likely guard Kawhi. That's how it went this year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it was when Giannis played, Pascal Siakam guarded him on 90% of possessions. And forced more turnovers than the rest of the Raptors. It was something like that. There was a weird stat on that. Kyle Lowry is only averaging 6.1 points a game in 4 games against Milwaukee. So that's the matchup I look to the most, is the matchup of the generals, of the floor generals in Eric Bledsoe and Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry has been, I always say it's my philosophy, especially in the NBA, to not put too much stock into the regular season. I've said that time and time again. You guys can back me up on that. I do not put too much stock into the regular season matchups because from point A, the first time these teams met was the 7th game of the season for both of them, and they were 6-0, and Giannis and Kawhi didn't play in that game.
Yeah.
That's an important point as well. However, it happened, so we can talk about it, but I don't put too much stock into it because these are different teams, right? The trade deadline has happened. People got moved around a little bit, not a whole lot for either squad, but you adjust, you evolve, you change your ways when you're going in to play playoff basketball.
Mirotic has been so big for the Bucks.
Right,
So
Mirotic,
big.
one of the few guys really that was acquired in the trade deadline in this series. But that said, I think Milwaukee wins in 6 or 7. I can't decide which one. It's tough for me. I don't think this only goes 5 like Jake does. He's just shaking his head at me. He thinks I'm wrong. Look, I think from a defensive standpoint, this team matches up better than Boston. Al Horford had one good game defensively, but you have a more athletic and a younger Pascal Siakam.
Mm-hmm.
You have guys like Serge Ibaka, who's an elite shot blocker, an elite rim protector. Marc Gasol is going to guard Brook Lopez, who's now an exterior threat, so that's another big key matchup to watch as well, where Marc Gasol, if he can play perimeter basketball.
It would have been a little bit more interesting if Mark was in those younger years with
Right,
the Grizzlies
if
when
he
he
was
got
a
the
top big
Defensive
guy,
Player of
right.
the Year. Like, oh, man, Mark was so good back then.
He's still got it, though. I mean, he's not the
Yeah.
old Marc Gasol, but he can still provide defensively.
Yeah.
Again, I know you say you don't put too much into the regular season. Just want to throw it out there. They were
Please
three.
do. That's fine.
They were
3 and 1
3-1 in
Yep.
the regular season. 2 of those games, they scored 123 or more points. So again, I just think they're going to be able, like they ended up doing against Boston. They played better as a team. They were able to outscore Boston. I think they're going to be able to expose different weaknesses in Toronto. I don't think Toronto is going to be able to keep up with their scoring efficiency. And you want a prediction for you? You want a bold last sports beat ever prediction?
Of course.
Yeah.
Both of these series, Western and Eastern Conference Finals, are only going 5 games. Both of them are only going 5 games. And for the first time in a very, very, very long time, we're going to see the start of the NBA Finals before the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And I think the NBA season is going to end before the Stanley Cup season, which typically happens. But the Stanley Cup usually moves through their playoffs a little bit faster, and then they'll start earlier.
I was about to say, yeah.
But I think both of these series, as I just mentioned, going to go 5 games. I think Warriors lose 1 time, Bucks lose 1 time. And we're going to have a Warriors-Bucks championship. That's my prediction.
So
I agree with the final matchup.
So-
well, yeah, but my prediction is 5 games apiece.
okay,
Both
so
final
5.
series.
So he says 5. You say 6 or 7.
I'll go with 6.
So Bucks and 6.
I love saying
Bucks
that.
and
So yeah,
6.
Bucks and 6.
That's
Bucks
the
and 6,
saying.
yeah.
I've got Bucks in 5 and Warriors in 5.
Shot.
Bucks and Raptors 7.
Yeah, who wins though?
And
We got-
the Bucks winning.
In 7.
I'm sorry, but
Bucks.
yeah. And then the Warriors and Trailblazers. That's only going to 6 Warriors.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go with.
I think Warriors in 5. I agree with as well.
I gotta be the dark horse in here. Huh? I'm gonna go Raptors in 7. I think that Kawhi Leonard just does some magic here.
Don't
and,
be a prisoner of the moment, man. one guy isn't going to change the entire series.
Sorry, no, I'm playing. I'm gonna go.
Obviously,
I'm gonna go. You know, I was just joking
I don't
around.
think you were. I don't
I'm,
think you
no. I'm serious.
Now that I criticized your pick, I think you're backing out of it. I think that's what's happening. Don't swear at me on air this time, though.
Of course not.
Don't.
Not that ever happened, though.
Yeah. I actually I was just kidding though, guys. I'm going with the Bucks. We
I think I
have a
criticized
sweep.
Jake.
No,
I think I
no.
criticized him and he backed out.
No,
What do you think?
No. I was playing this whole entire year. I've been doubting the Milwaukee Bucks, and I kept saying that they weren't going to win series. I said that it was going to be a
You
tougher
can't just
series.
back out of your pick,
Then I said the Raptors, right? And I said I was joking. So now,
which is backing out of your pick.
no, I'm not backing out of my pick. I was joking. I picked the okay. I picked the Bucks. I picked the
Joakim Noah.
Bucks. I
So you're
picked the
backing
Bucks.
out of your pick.
I picked the Bucks in 7.
He backed out of his pick. Remember that. He
Actually,
backed out.
Raptors in 7. How about that? I'm actually torn. I think this will be a really good series.
Who's winning? And then how many?
I'm torn, man. I really want to go against the
Bad
the
radio.
Bucks.
Bad radio. I'll give you 5 seconds, or I'll give you 10 seconds. Whatever you need. Go ahead. Think about it. I'll just talk. I hope everyone's doing well. It's very beautiful outside today. Okay, who's it going to be?
It's going to be the Raptors in 7. Kawhi Leonard and Siakam and the boys get it done. They win it in the Fexum Forum. Did I say that correct? Fiserv Forum.
Let's make a bet on that.
Ooh, in 7 games.
No, on the winner. If you're taking the Raptors and I'll take the Bucks, let's make a bet on this.
Okay, which one? What was the bet?
I don't
Well,
know
I
what
actually
you think
don't
it
want to bet. It's not the Rockets. I
That's
don't
not
like
fun.
betting on other teams. It's
Okay,
not
what about the
Rockets.
Warriors Trailblazers series? What's going to happen there?
Oh, I definitely think the Warriors going to win.
How many?
Probably in 5 or 6. It'll be quick. Maybe 6.
I'm going to say Warriors
say
in 6 as well.
Yeah, I'm going to say 6.
I was thinking about that.
Say
One. I think I'm going to
6.
say 6 as well. I think Blazers win game 2, which I believe is tomorrow. I think they win game 2.
Yo, Steph is playing phenomenally. Ever since Durant went down, he's playing phenomenally.
He-
9
he-
threes yesterday.
He's
unbelievable.
There's no words to describe Stephen Curry.
No, it's just it's nauseating.
Ka-ching,
It's
ka-ching,
it's just-
ka-ching.
This guy just catches it and just shoots it.
Count
and
of
throws it
3.
up.
Count of 3. It's a little Family Guy reference for all my Family
Count
Guy
of 3.
fans out there.
Yeah, so Raptors in 7 and then Warriors in 6. There
That
you
is
go.
I thought we were doing that. Count of 3. All right, but no, seriously.
Here, no. If we're gonna play,
He's so good. It's just anything he takes, the Raptors couldn't guard, and it was just ridiculous. I don't know how else to put it. It's just ridiculous.
All right, bring it up the court. And corner 3. Now,
There it is. Little Family Guy for everybody out there. So no. Yeah, so Warriors Bucks. You're saying Warriors Raptors. You're saying Warriors Bucks. Producer Shad, yes. Yeah, I think that seems like the right answer. The top seeds in both conferences. Just a matter of how many games. But Jake, I'm still concerned. You're really blowing off the Raptors, huh?
That's what I'm saying. He's saying that like the Raptors are worse.
dude. I'm not saying it. The Raptors are not as good.
But the Celtics
as,
are dysfunctional.
And
doesn't
Kyrie
matter.
The
missed
Raptors
and
aren't.
Kyrie
It
missed like
doesn't
15
matter.
shots in each of the games that they lost.
it doesn't
Kawhi
matter.
Leonard's not going to miss 15 shots. He will get 40 points.
You're being a prisoner of the moment. And you're putting way too much stock into
he
one
dropped
guy.
how many-
You need help. I mean, you need assistance.
You
That's how the
do.
Bucks were so good. The Bucks
yeah.
have so many guys.
You
Their
do need
depth,
help against
their
the
depth and their
Milwaukee Bucks.
defense is what carries the Bucks. Obviously, Giannis needs to have a big night for them to
Totally
win. Yes,
agree.
absolutely.
Totally agree.
And same with Toronto. Kawhi needs to have a big night for them to win. But Kawhi was not going to go out there and drop 75 points and wheel them to victory by his lonesome. They need support, and they'll have it.
Yeah.
If they need it, I don't know if they'll have it because the Bucks are better defensively.
They
the
are.
Bucks are deeper. The Bucks have more guys that are consistent. You know, Malcolm Brogdon being added back into this mix makes this a really interesting series. That's why I'm straying away from saying it's in 7. I'm going to say Bucks in 6. I'm going to stick with that pick. But the
Siakam's-
Raptors just don't have what the Bucks have. However, they're a more well-oiled machine than Boston is.
Yeah, I feel like
and I'll
if,
argue that.
if you have Danny Green making shots, you have
That's
Kyle
super
Lowry
important.
making shots,
Pascal needs to not
and
disappear. at all.
Pascal, if he goes off and has a great game, and Kawhi Leonard just plays up to his usual standards, it's going to be hard for this
Yeah,
Milwaukee
if all
Bucks
that
team.
happens, but then what if on the same night George Hill is making shots, Chris Middleton is doing crazy things,
And they have, they have.
Giannis goes off for 35. Like they have a better team. They match up better on at every position on the floor, every single one. They dismantled Boston. They would have walked right through Philly, and I think they're going to do the same thing to Toronto. Like I don't think anybody in the East can touch this Bucks team now. Given what we've seen through 9 games in the playoffs, I think they're just on another level. They're too good, and that's not me. Like that's me
I hope you're right.
analyzing.
I
it.
hope
Like,
you're
I'm
right.
not-
I hope you're right.
No, I get exactly what you're saying because a lot of teams, a lot of people in
You're
general,
not out of line.
they overlook the greatness of certain teams just because of the experience and stuff of that nature. And this Milwaukee Bucks team have gone through this entire playoffs
Bucks also-
just dominating. And
So
even
you're still going Raptors.
and I'm still going Raptors. Yeah, I do believe that Kawhi Leonard, he just is a fun. I mean, he's great,
but the
and
Bucks-
he's been there.
the
He's
Bucks-
been there before.
They also have more people, like you're saying. Danny Green, he has to be making his shots. Siakam doing his thing, or whatever. If the Bucks, say who did I just mention to hitting the threes right now? Say Connaughton.
George Hill.
Yeah, George Hill. Thank you. Say George Hill's not off. Connaughton might be there to pick up the slack. Say Connaughton's off. You got Bledsoe to pick up the slack. Say he's off. You can keep going down.
Yeah.
You can keep going down the line. You can't do that with the Raptors team. So I just think, even if somebody from Milwaukee is not playing their best game, there's somebody else that can step up and play well enough to make up for that, and that's what we've seen multiple times throughout the playoffs. Like Giannis has had a few subpar games for Giannis standards.
standards.
Eric
During this
Bledsoe
playoffs.
stepped up.
Yes, exactly.
George
Other-
Hill
other
or-
different
or
people
Pat
have.
Connaughton.
And
Yeah.
then
They're
on
deeper.
top of that,
They're
you
deeper.
get Malcolm Brogdon back, as you mentioned. So just like I have a very hard time seeing Milwaukee losing more than one game, maybe 2. I mean, if it's 6, okay, it's 6. But I can see them walking through, losing one game,
All right,
winning it in
so
5.
3 of us, producer Shaw, Jake, myself, we say Bucks in 6 and Warriors in. We kind of had a mixture there. Malik says Raptors in 7 and Warriors in 5 or 6. We're gonna take a final break. We're gonna come back. We're gonna get real sad in here. We're gonna get sad. All right, let's get to our break, and then we're gonna get sad. While you can. Smooth Man! The great and the late great Chris Cornell with Soundgarden. Spoon Man. Last time you'll hear that on this show for a few months. My favorite album in the stacks. All right, so we've got about 5 minutes left in the final sports beat of semester number 2, the spring semester of 2019. As mentioned at the top, this is my final show serving as sports director. I'll still be around as I transition into the station manager here at 90 FM. So this may be the last time for a while I'm in this chair. So that's sad. But tonight's not about me because I'll still be around. Tonight is about the other 2 people in the room who have been with me since I started this job, and even before that, since I started on this campus almost 2 years ago now. These guys, as I mentioned a little bit last week, have made me so damn proud and have done so much for not only the station but for me personally. Have grown and have developed into not only good broadcasters, not only good personalities on air, but even better human beings than the guys I met almost 2 years ago. So they've been on, Jake and Malik have been on just about every Sports Beat episode this year, which, again, I just can't say enough about how much they've brought to the table, ideas and headlines and scripting and changing and evolving segments and stuff like that. So each of them graduate when? 3 days from now? Saturday is when graduation is?
Saturday at 2:00.
Saturday too.
So we're less than 3 days away from when you guys get to say peace, which I always say at the end of every Sports Beat episode. So I put together a little something. Let's get sad. Oh, Rivendell wants to freeze on me. Oh, here you go. Mr. Malik Jackson.
Hey.
I'll
How's
even give you
everybody
a clap
doing
this
today?
week.
I need a clap as well, even though my this time next week was terrible. Blue goes get another shot attempt right here. Make sure that's a smart one. Just every single point right now is big. We should see, and I'm very intrigued to see how the Space Jam is going to look.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jacob Senholz.
Okay, so is the cheering done? So the one time I get cheered, I can't even hear it because my
Got
headphones don't
Got
work.
headphones.
Yeah, well, you want to talk about a veteran-led team, look at the Boston Bruins. I mean, you can just go right on down the list. So as we have all probably heard, last week Manny Machado signed the most expensive contract.
I love how you say his name.
Manny Machado?
Machado.
Machado?
Machado.
Machado.
It's not. Yeah. It's Machado.
He's Spanish. It's Machado. Hey, I took 3 years of Spanish in high school, and two of those years were Spanish 1.
There you go. These two guys just Machado. How do you say his name?
Machado.
You're an idiot. Oh God, are you wrong? So guys,
I don't like the guy anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, he's dirty. He's a dirty man. Dirty baseball player. We don't like him here in Wisconsin.
Padres. That's who he's with now.
The Padres.
Padres.
Well, thank you for that. That was nice.
Yeah, that was nice.
It was just it was a little short,
That was
but
nice.
I wanted to clip together some.
Especially during finals week means a lot. You put something together. So
Oh, you're so
thank
sweet.
you.
For real.
Well, thank you guys so much. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, and this isn't because we're on microphones. You guys both mean so much to me, and you've done so much for me. Some of which we can't talk about on air. But no, seriously. I mean, you guys have put so much in as volunteers. I mean, you made sure you were here just about every week when you could be. Just so we could ramble about sports for whether it be an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours, depending if it was on or off air. So this is super bittersweet. This is super sad.
Yeah.
I'm choking up, man. This is you guys are gonna go kill it, and I'm proud of each of you. And man, I don't know if I have words, but to everybody who's taking the time in the last 9 months to go on this crazy freaking journey with us here at 90 FM Sports, thank you. Nathan Hansen threw me into this position about a year ago to the date, and said, "Here are the keys. Good luck. Don't drive it into the ditch." And I don't think I did too bad. Maybe once or twice we swerved on the gravel and the rumble strips, but we avoided the ditch. So
I think we did a pretty good job.
we did all right.
Yeah, we
and
did
I couldn't have
all
done it without either of you. So that's all for my sappiness. Good luck. Don't trip on your way across the stage on Saturday.
Man.
Tie your shoes, Malik. And
Indeed.
Malik, one last thing. Make sure your phone doesn't ring during commencement,
That
okay?
would be terrible if an ESPN notification went off, right?
Just like it did almost every week during Sports Beat. This has been Sports Beat
Well-
of the 20. Go ahead.
I was gonna say for one final time we have to shamelessly plug ourselves.
Go
right?
ahead. Yeah, of course.
Well, as Alex said, thank you everybody that's tuned in, watched the video podcast, anything like that, giving us the opportunity to do what we love and get better at it while we're doing it. And big thank you to Alex, for keeping us involved and for playing host every week.
Playing host.
Yeah,
I like that.
I'm not gonna say too much more either, because Alex did a good job of covering it. But if you want to follow me, keep up with wherever my life goes, my future work, a lot of things I've done in the past, you can find me on Twitter at SenholzOnSport, or you can go to YouTube, and I'll be posting pretty much everything from now on YouTube, and all the sports beats from this entire semester, except for I think the first 2 weeks are on YouTube as well.
I think just
so
1 week we missed.
yeah, so this will be episode 11, I think. So again, thank you everybody. I'm Senholz on Sports on pretty much every platform, and hopefully we'll talk to you sometime soon.
Man, thank everybody for tuning in to us, and thank you to you, Alex. Big thanks to you, man.
There it is. Very fitting, Malik.
Well,
Very fitting.
there
In
you
the
go.
closing seconds.
It Just big thanks to you though, Alex, for
Of
real, man.
course.
I appreciate your time and just giving me the opportunity. And one day I came into SPTV, you asked me, you were like, "What do you want to do? What are you going to do like when you graduate?" And I was like, "Man, I want to get into sports broadcasting." And you were like, "Oh, so what are you doing?" I was just like, it really made me like realize that I really needed to start to buckle down and hone in on my mastering my skills. And like you said, I see all of us doing big things, and I'm just so proud of us and so much that we've grown. We've grown so much in this year, and it's been amazing. And yeah, man, the sky's the limit for us. And thanks to everybody that tunes in. And you can catch me on Twitter at Sports by Malik. You can catch me on Instagram, living_life_LIK leak. And the future is big, and I want to be the most successful black male that has ever touched this earth. So I'm going to continue to do that, and I'm going to continue to make people proud. And like I said, Alex, man, I appreciate you and everything that you've done for me and Jake, and you're going to do big things, man.
Appreciate you. Appreciate both of you. That's all of our Sappy talk. Best of luck to each of you. We'll be in touch, no doubt about that.
Of course.
But for the final time, Senholes, Jackson, I'm Strofe. This has been Sports Beat on your Wednesday. Thanks for spending your midweek evening with us.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks. They kick
Can't forget
off
about
in less than
Sean.
30.
What's good, everybody?
You got to say bye. You got to say bye. Producer Shot.
Bye,
Shout out to the
everybody.
producer Shot for producing us most weeks. For the last time, peace!
You just heard Sports Beat, a production of 90FM's Public Affairs on WWSP Stevens Point. Tune in next Wednesday for our next show at 6 o'clock from 90FM, your only alternative.
I'm leaving here tomorrow. I'm leaving for to miss the pain. I'm going towards that mountain where I can rest my head.
Sean, you graduate too? No.